Hi and welcome to the Running Channel. I'm Andy and today, along with Anna, we're going to be taking a look at the best beginner running shoes that you can get for less than £100.
Yeah, often there is a lot of talk about the brand new flagship shoes, especially from the bigger brands, and these can cost, from £150 upwards. So we know that there are a lot of beginner runners out there who want to know where to start. We also know that there are a lot of experienced runners out there who are looking for the best shoes on a budget. We've come to the right place. In fact, our cheapest shoe on test today is just £30.
We've been taking a look at some of the best out there at the moment, and we're also going to take a look at some older premium models that you can pick up for less than £100, often quite a lot less, that we think would also be good for beginner runners. In most cases, that also means that you might be able to pick up what was a flagship or top of the range shoe for a lot less.
So let's get stuck in then, and don't forget to subscribe to the Running Channel and tap the bell icon so you get notified when we upload new videos all about running, which we do every week.
We're going to get straight into the reviews in a moment, but for anyone new to running shoes, the jargon can be a little bit baffling. So here's a lightning quick explainer.
Most of the shoes that we're going to be looking at today are what's known as neutral. So that means that your foot neither rolls in too much or out too much when you run. And if you're not sure what your particular running style looks like, most specialist running shops can have a look at what's known as your gait. And we've got a video all about gait analysis on the Running Channel, so check that out if you need some more advice.
The stack height refers to how high your shoe is above the ground. So a high stack height usually means more cushioning, but it could also mean that the shoe might feel a little bit less stable.
Drop is a number that you'll often see on shoe specs, and it's the number given usually in millimeters that tells you how much higher off the ground your heel is than your toes. And so the lower the number, the flatter, more closer to barefoot those shoes will be. Anyway, let's have a look at the first shoe. So this is the ASICS Gel Contend 6 Twist, so a super comfy beginner shoe. It's got the Amplifoam midsole, which makes it really springy, really plush inside. When you put it on, you can instantly feel that this is a comfortable shoe. Price-wise, it's right at the cheaper end of the shoes that we're reviewing in this video today. So you can get these for around £55 to £60, depending on where you buy them from. I felt like the fit was true to size. I've got a bit of a wider foot, but it seemed to absolutely accommodate that fine. And running in them just felt really comfortable. So ASICS say that this is a great shoe for beginners or low mileage runners. So if you're looking to do a park run or similar, then this could be the shoe for you for just a weekly 5K, something like that.
This is the New Balance Solvi V2. Weighing in at 295 grams for the men's size, it's one of the heavier shoes on test. But perhaps thanks to that, it also feels like one of the sturdiest, and it's one of the ones that I trusted the most when I was going for some of my longer runs. New Balance have lots of different foam technologies that they use to provide the cushioning in different versions of their shoes in different ranges. Now in the Solvi 2, they use something called True Fuse, which for me was really comfortable, and combined with the 10mm drop, lent itself really well to those longer, steady runs. I didn't feel like it was quite so well suited to quicker runs, but if you're looking for something where you're going to be out there for a bit longer, you want extra cushioning and extra protection, then this could be the right shoe for you. I would say it felt like a more expensive shoe than it really is. The upper feels really premium, although I'll say that the fit's slightly different because it has a loose tongue, I guess like a more traditional running shoe, that's held in place with this tab that the laces pass through on the top. That's in comparison to some of the other shoes on test that had a kind of elasticated bootie that holds the tongue in place.
This is the Adidas SL20, so a bit of a lighter weight shoe. It's got the Continental rubber grip on the bottom, which means that you've got really good traction in both wet and dry conditions. The Light Strike midsole is super lightweight, so it gives you a bit more responsiveness if you want to do some faster, explosive running, but is also still comfortable enough with the cushioning to provide the support. So it's less cushioned than the ASICS, for example, but it's still something that you can wear as an everyday running shoe. So one thing to note about these is that I did find that the fit did come up a little bit on the narrow side, touch too small for my wide feet, but the length was fine in the UK, 6.5 in these shoes, so I didn't need to size up in that respect. This shoe is absolutely beautiful. I absolutely love the way that it looks when you're wearing it. It looks real sleek and like a proper fast looking shoe. So if you're looking to shift from a cushion shoe to a bit of a faster one, then this one could be the one for you. Looking at the price, it is on the upper end of our scale for this particular video, as it is a little bit more pricey.
This is the Brooks Revel 3, and at £90 and 249 grams for the men's with an 8mm drop, it's a great example of shoe design kept simple. Now at this price point you wouldn't expect any kind of flagship advanced technologies, but Brooks do a really good job with their own proprietary cushioning system called Biomogo DNA. It seemed to strike a good balance, for me at least, between nice soft cushioning but also responsiveness as I was trying to run a little bit quicker on some of my runs. From a fit perspective, I found these came up pretty much true to size for me, although I have read elsewhere that some people have found them to be quite a snug fit. From my perspective, actually, the snug fit was helped by this inner bootie where the tongue is attached to the rest of the shoe, stopping the tongue from moving around when you're running. My first impressions of the upper were really nice, actually. I like the design of the knitted outer upper, and then there's a thinner layer that lines the inside. It does feel quite thick to touch, although I didn't have any problems with overheating on any of my runs, and it has been quite hot. So that's a good sign. But it's worth bearing in mind that I guess when you first try them on, it might feel like the upper is quite thick, but for that it also feels quite supportive and adds to that snug feel.
The Kalenji Run Support is our cheapest shoe on test, so you can pick this one up at Decathlon, and it comes in at just under £30. Now we did a whole video all about the £10 version of this shoe. This is the slightly updated one, and honestly, I haven't really got a bad word to say about it. This shoe is super accessible for people on a budget. If it gets more people out running, then I'm absolutely down with that. It looks really cool as well, and it's super comfy the minute that you put it on. So it feels well cushioned in the midsole. One thing that I would say is that it is perhaps a little bit stiff right at the front on the sole here. But apart from that, overall, it's a really good shoe, and it's got so many positive reviews online for it as well. It's really hard to pick any holes in this shoe, especially when it comes in at 30 quid, and it does what it says on the tin really. It's a good all-round running shoe. Decathlon on their website recommend that this shoe is suitable for running up to 3 times a week for up to an hour at a time. So if you are a beginner or a low mileage runner, or you're just starting out, you know, if you're going to go to a park run, something like that, and this shoe, there's nothing wrong with it.
This is the Hoka One One Cavu 3. This is the lightest model on test at under 200 grams, 198 grams for the men's. It also has the lowest drop on test at 6mm. That combination of a lightweight and a low drop means that the shoe feels really responsive, and it felt really at home running more quickly, perhaps more so than some of the other models on test. So if you're looking for something lightweight to do some quicker runs in, this might be worth considering. Add to that the seamless design. There's no tongue on this model, and the fit is really snug, which helps with that responsive feeling. It is worth noting that the shoe comes up quite narrow. I have narrow feet, so I felt they fitted me really well, but if you're looking for a wider shoe, then this might not be the one for you. Full disclosure, this shoe does retail at £105, so it doesn't quite meet the criteria for this video, but we've included it because it's the cheapest shoe that you can buy from Hoka, and it might be a nice introduction to a brand that does often go about making shoes in a different and innovative way. Often Hoka shoes focus on a high stack height, with really high cushioning at still quite a low weight. This is a good introduction because it's not quite so extreme as the other Hoka models, and it might be one that's worth considering for that reason.
So as I mentioned at the start of this video, we're now going to have a little look at some of the flagship shoes from the big brands that may have been more than £100 when they first came out, but if you look at their previous models now, you can actually get your hands on a lot of them for under £100. And that can be a good thing because a lot of the bigger brands will use more premium technology and materials in their shoes, and so you can really grab yourself a bargain by not buying the brand new version of what is essentially the same shoe. So we're going to start off with the Nike Air Zoom Pegasus 36, and you can tell from the name, this is the 36th iteration of the Pegasus model. So this model's been around for a very long time, and Nike really know what they're doing when it comes to the Pegasus. So they're a super comfortable, slightly cushioned shoe, not as cushioned as some of the beginner ones that we have looked at in this video. So the Zoom Air cushioning in the Pegasus makes them really light and comfortable and springy, and because the 37s have been released now, that means that you can pick up a pair of Pegasus 36 for well under £100. Absolute bargain if you ask me.
Next up, we're going to talk about New Balance's 890 V6. But before we do, really excitingly, I'm holding the very first version of the 890, the 890 V1. And the reason I'm holding it is because this shoe, when it was launched, had my name on it. So I'm definitely biased towards this line of shoes. In terms of the 6th version at 255 grams, it's a really nice balance between being lightweight enough to run more quickly, but also having enough cushioning to go a little bit further. Now, I never did my longest runs in the 890, but I found that they were brilliant for everything from easy runs right up to faster threshold runs. The 6th version of the 890 still uses New Balance's RevLite technology, which they claim is 30% lighter than similarly performing foam, and which they first introduced in the original version of the 890. That combination of the firm, fast-riding RevLite, a mid-weight at 255 grams and a 6mm drop mean that the 890 V6 feel like a responsive shoe that you can go a little bit quicker in. The V6 also has 4 separate panels of blown rubber on the outsole, all of which can move independently. I never had any problem with grip, and they're definitely worth a try.
The ASICS Gel DS23 is, as it says in its name, the 23rd version of this shoe. And ASICS say it's had a bit of a makeover, but really you do find all of the components and materials that you would come to expect in the ASICS Gel DS range. So this one is designed for beginner runners, but also if you want to get a little bit of speed as well. It's got an updated Adapt mesh to it, which means that it's just a little bit extra supportive, and it's an absolute steal as it comes in at well under £50 at the moment.
Next up, the Brooks Levitate 2 with an 8mm drop and weighing in at 317 grams. So not one of the lightest shoes that we've been talking about today, but we still think it's worth considering because of how responsive it feels. It gets that responsiveness from the use of Brooks' DNA AMP technology in the midsole, which Brooks say is the midsole that returns the most energy in their range. Now that means that this isn't necessarily the softest or most cushioned feeling shoe in the Brooks range, but that's the price that you pay to get that responsive feeling when you're out running in terms of a quick transition. The Levitate 2 has a knitted upper made from Brooks' Fit Knit fabric, as well as a wraparound heel collar for comfort.
Then there's the Adidas Ultra Boost ST. So the ST actually stands for stability in this shoe, so it's a little bit heavier than the traditional Adidas Ultra Boost shoes. But again, as with the previous Adidas that we looked at in this video, it has the continental grip on the bottom of it. It's another shoe that is designed for beginner runners, and because the Ultra Boost 19s and 20s have since been released, you can pick this up for a really good price.
Finally, we're going to consider the Hoka One One Clifton 4. Now, since the release of the 4, there's been the 5 and 6, and more recently, the Clifton Edge. So the 5 and 6 also might be worth considering for picking up a bargain. Compared to the previous 3 versions of the Clifton, one of the focuses for the Clifton 4 was longevity, so improving the durability of the midsole, which they did at the expense of the weight, but you'll find with 265 grams, this is definitely not a heavy shoe. If you're used to wearing Nike, Brooks, ASICS or New Balance shoes, it could be worth going up half a size from what you're used to make sure that they fit properly. And it's also worth bearing in mind that there's an extra wide option available if that's something that you're looking for.
So there are some of our favourite beginner shoes for under £100 right now. Just remember though that because we love something doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the right shoe for you. So we do recommend that you go into a running shop and try on lots of different shoes to see which is right for you. If you're buying online, then perhaps consider buying in 2 sizes so that you can send one back if needs be, but make sure you check the returns policy first because you don't want to end up with 2 pairs of shoes.
What are your favourite shoes for running in, or have you seen some in this video that you like? Let us know in the comments below. And please don't forget to subscribe to the running channel to support us in what we're trying to do, and we'll see you next time.